buy time with my money. Laughing to the bank cause it's funny. The money keep coming, I manifest it. Sing these lyrics and you'll get it. I'm the bank, come invest it. I get tracked and I have it. Money finds me attractive. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss, Willy Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. Yeah, I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off thoughtless, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the rawness. I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. I'll do the work, yeah, I'll do it till it hurts. I'll invest in my future, I'll invest in the purse. I wanna be so rich, life changes. And I don't ever think about how much I just pay it. Yeah, it's a dream, the American dream. Live on top, don't stop till you got everything. But there's balance, cause this life is a challenge. You gotta live in the now while building in the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss, Willy Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. Yeah, I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off thoughtless, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the rawness. I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So keep working till it's hurting, cause that's when you start deserving everything you want, everything you need. Trust the process, yeah, you got this. Keep on working till you bleed. Yeah, I've been there, yeah, I've done that. 10 long years of breaking my back, but now I'm up here, never looking back. I got more dreams that I wanna go attack. Keep on going, keep on.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Marko Yamashita Show. I am your host, Marko Yamashita, here to bring you, unfortunately, some sad news this morning, as according to a recent press release that was released by Prism Project, it looks like they are closing Prism Project, and then it's a very sad and unfortunate announcement, especially for those who appreciate what the men and women over at Prism Project do. Of course, people might be familiar with the, especially if you are a regular of my channel, you might be familiar with the disagreement that I've had with some talent over at Prism Project, and that in no way is influencing why I'm choosing to discuss this, because I feel that this is a very important situation for us to look at. We have seen a number of VTuber agencies fold within the last couple years, and the reason why I say it's important is, number one, we have we have several talent that are either going to have to go independent or find a new home. And let's look at the press release here first before we go on about how this actually affects things in the larger sphere. Just here to swoop by and say hi. Hey, thank you for dropping in. Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate you dropping in. I know Prism Project isn't a large company, and they don't have a large fan base. However, I wanted to talk about this because I think it's extremely important. So thank you for dropping in. If you decide to lurk, that's fine. If you take off, that's fine as well. Just know I'm happy that you dropped in to say hi, okay? So let's go over the press release here, and I want to get out of the studio mode there. Okay, so press release: Sony Music Entertainment Japan Inc.'s Prism Project VTuber brand to cease operations on March 31st, 2024. Sony Music Entertainment Japan Inc. today announced its VTuber talent management project, Prism Project, will cease operations as of March 31st, 2024. All 18 currently managed talents will become independent performers on April 1st under their current talent names and personas, and will be transferred the rights to their character images to permit a seamless transition to independent talent activities utilizing their current YouTube and social media accounts. Now, this is an extremely huge thing that Sony Music Entertainment are doing, and I actually want to commend them for doing this, because if you are like me and you've had talents that have either been terminated or they left, excuse me, or that their agency has closed up shop, most of the time they hold on to those IPs regardless of if they're going to use them or not. And I honestly think that Sony Music Entertainment of Japan are doing a great service to all the talent that currently are employed by Prism Project, because this means that they don't have to, tell everyone they're leaving. They don't have to tell everyone, say I can't tell you what my new name is going to be or something like that. They're going to be able to keep going with what they got. And that's huge for their fan base and their friendship circles, and also with the generations themselves, because they've all built quite a big rapport, with the debuting at in their generation. So being able to hold on to all those major things, despite Sony closing up shop on them, is a pretty huge deal, and you don't see that much in the VTuber world anymore. Umberto, welcome. Yes, we have some sad news, but there is a silver lining with this, and I think it's extremely important that we look at what they're doing, and we'll finish going through the press release here, and then we'll get into bigger detail. But I want to address why this is so important after we finish here, okay? So, Prism Project fans should tune into each talent streams and or social media in early March for more information about each talent's individual plans for their activities after March 31st. Events and releases that are currently scheduled for the month of March will continue as scheduled, and merchandise orders placed by March 31st deadline will be fulfilled even after the conclusion of Prism Project's operations. Prism Project's official YouTube and Twitter or X account officials will remain at as an archive, and fan mail received by March 31st will be delivered to the talents as normal. Prism Project asks that its fans continue to support talents, events, and activities through their final streams in late March. Prism Project asked that fans refrain from making inquiries to talents directly, and direct any business-related questions regarding this announcement to contact at prismproject.jp. Prism Project was originally founded by Another Ball Inc. I did not know that until now, but that okay. Was transitioned to management and operations by Sony Music Entertainment Japan in March 2022, which, at the time, everyone thought that was going to be a great move and a big deal. And now that happened and we're getting into 2024, It looks like, it looks like Sony either doesn't see the potential in this or doesn't want to keep it going. Um, in the nearly 2 years since its transition, Prism Project saw its reach and exposure increase dramatically with appearances at major anime conventions and events both within Japan and around the world, multiple original music releases, a major music label debut, the addition of formerly independent talents as their original characters, IPs, and other significant accomplishments, which saw Prism's reach extend beyond its original scope. Which all that sounds great, but I kind of wonder if either Sony looked at the project and figured that it's going to cost more money than they thought to run Prism Project, or perhaps even had plans, and if they didn't hit a certain benchmark, they were going to pretty much do what they're doing now. We'll talk about that in a second. Comments from Shogun, Prism Project's producer. Since the transition to Sony Music, Prism Project's talents created nearly 2 years of engaging, pioneering content, and we are extremely proud of their contributions that each Prism talent had made to the virtual talent space. Our opportunity to bring Prism Project's talent content to a larger audience, both virtually and physically, to achieve a long list of firsts for Prism and the staff and talent team, and to have had a chance to continue to pursue our mission of helping each and every one of our viewers find something they love and feel happy. Okay, well, I don't know about that, but every single day was an honor and a privilege. And I don't mean to interject my personal opinion, but yeah, okay. After careful consideration and discussion between management and talents regarding each talent's goals and virtual performers, and with an eye towards the industry trends and the considerable staff resources required, not only to sustain but to grow as a brand, together we made the incredibly difficult decision to cease talent management operations and make it possible for each talent to continue their talent activities under their current names and their current IPs. I recognize this is a heart-wrenching and surprising announcement for our fans, but I want you all to know that Prism Project is eternally grateful for the long-term passionate support of its fan audience, and we hope that the fans will continue to support each talent as they make the next step in their activities. Now, I want to look real quick to see. Calvin, welcome to the chat. Welcome. The Cool 2T, welcome to the chat. Welcome. Yeah, it does look like I did decide to jump on this as soon as I saw or actually was made aware of the announcement, and so I may have I may have like jumped on too early, but I mean it's well, it is what it is. But I wanted to talk about this and jump on this immediately because this is both a huge deal, and it's also an eye-opening deal on two different fronts here. And apparently this was announced 6 hours ago, so yeah, I was asleep then. Anyways, so let's talk about this for a little bit, okay? The good thing about what is going on here, again, like I said, and you don't see this very often, and this is actually a huge plus for every one of the talents that's involved with Prism Project right now, that they get to walk away with their own IP. their own IP and persona. So they're not going to have to reestablish themselves with a new IP or go back to their old VTuber account, or like what we usually see. You don't see this in the VTuber industry nearly as much as I think we kind of should, because I mean, yes, I understand that, talent agencies and their parent companies, yeah, they paid the money to, get the VTuber models and pay, the VTubers to come in and be their talent. Yeah, I get all that, right? However, if you're going to cease operation completely and you're going to shut down your entire, VTuber project, or, the agency or what have you, and you're not going to ever use the character models again, what's the point of holding on to them if you're never gonna use them again? I mean, they have more than made their money back. As far as I know, they've more than made their money back with the VTubers that what they currently have. And as a I was kind of looking before I started streaming, and they have 7 generations. They have released 7 generations of VTubers in this agency. Now, Generation 3 was the generation that literally walked out on Prism Project, and they went off. They later went and established their own VTuber group, which I thought was pretty impressive. Wait a minute, it wasn't Generation 3. It was. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I got that confused with Project Hawaii, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But they've had a number of people that had quit or gotten fired, despite all the generations they've released. In Generation 4, they had one person that's already graduated. In Generation 5, they've had one person graduate. Generation 6, they've had one graduate. So they've had 4 people graduate since they started operations in 2021. So I mean, considering that production Kwai had an entire generation walk out on them, I mean that's a pretty big deal. They've done some really good work with the talent that they have, and honestly, I think that with their ability to be able to continue with their current audience and with their current fan base, and keep their own IP and really be able to own it without any I guess any real strings attached. Maybe they had to work something out with Sony or something like that, be able to walk out with them. We don't really know what the procedure or talks were about this, but it's still a big deal because like I said, you don't really see this kind of generosity from a parent company and a talent agency to their talent, of saying, yeah, you know what, you guys have worked very hard for the last 2 to 4 years with these models to make it what they were. You are you are these people. We're gonna let you walk away with them. I mean, that's huge. This is why Ludo hasn't streamed in 4 months. Shoot. I'm trying to remember who Ludo. Which one was Ludo? Was it Shia and Generation? Oh, okay. Ludo. You know what? I haven't heard anything about her taking the. Let's see. she took a break on February 6th of last year, and she was on. She took a break for 14 days. That's 2 weeks. Now I do remember she has had several. She's had to take several breaks due to her health. Well, and they claim it's personal reasons, but likely it's either stress or her health. When they say personal reasons, because and on December 6th of 2022, she had to take a break all the way till January. So most of December she had taken off. February again, she had to take a break for 2 weeks due to personal reasons. And then she did debut on in 2021. But I am almost willing to bet that she because they say personal reasons, it's likely because of her health that she's had to take a break. And there were if there were rumblings of this happening behind the scenes that they didn't say anything about until today, it's very possible that if there was talk that they were going to shut down, she maybe just decided, I'll wait till they shut down to come back. Because if there's pressure being put on the talent, like there usually is, to have a certain performance percentage and be able to hit certain goals and marks within a certain physical year or time span, and they put pressure on the talent to either expand their fan base or to have a certain percentage of streaming time, as well as being able to perform and do songs and all these other things, in order for them to turn around and say, yes, this is profitable. We're hitting these certain things. You're bringing in a certain amount of fans to our brand or our financial spheres, so we can monetize them and so on and so forth. It can be a really big deal if they say that you're not making enough for them to continue with running the agency. And I'm kind of thinking that is what this means, because let's look at what they said, especially Shogun. Let's look at what Shogun said. Since the transition to Sony Music, Prism Project's talents created nearly 2 years of engaging and pioneering talent. And then Shogun goes on to say that after considerable consideration and discussion between management and talent regarding each talent's goals as a VTuber performer, and with an eye towards industry trends and considerable staff resources required. And this is the big thing right here, guys. Okay, when Shogun starts talking about this here, regarding talent, the industry trends and considerable staff resources required, not only to sustain but to further grow the brand. Together, we made an incredibly difficult decision to cease talent management operations and make it possible for the talent to continue their talent activities under their names. This right here is the key part and key takeaway with this press release. And I really am wondering, with Shogun saying this, whether or not they they feel that they just could not afford the amount of support staff in order to either continue to grow and hit certain benchmarks or keep the agency itself afloat. Because if you're hiring more help and hiring more support staff, but you don't have the payoff on the other side where the talent isn't bringing in at the required amount of funds in order to at least break even, which they're a company, so and a company is about making profit, right? So if you're not hitting a certain profit margin, they're going to look at it and say, if we're only breaking even, or we're actually losing money by hiring support staff. It's very feasible. That's why they're deciding to cut everyone loose. It would be one thing like if they kept the agency going, and they just decided to cut people, some streamline things and maybe slim down the roster a bit. But that would also give the indication that things just aren't running really well in the background. So I could see that Sony looks at it and say, well, this was just a pet project and we don't want to pay for this anymore because it's just costing us money, or we're not getting the return on investment from this, so we're shutting it down. I could very well see both scenarios. Wow, there's a lot of people talking here. Let's look back here. Health is rich. What do the JP companies do? Almost the same. Don't let their former talent. Yeah, they don't. You don't get that. Unless you walk in with your own identity that's like your brand, and they allow you to carry on your brand under their banner. They typically don't do this. They typically just shut everything down, and they they keep their own IP for whatever reason, and they have to go back and go back to their old identities, or start a new one. And you just don't see people being able to carry this IP over that was owned by another corporation or an agency or whatever, because until they hand over rights to that IP, it's still belongs to Prism Project and Sony Music Entertainment, right? And most of the time, if a company like Sony acquires specific IPs, they look at it and say, well, this is we paid for this. You're not going to get it. You're not going to walk away with this because we paid for it. That's what a lot of companies say, right? Even if they're never going to use it again, they sit on an IP purely because they bought it, or, they sit here and say, well, this is ours. You're not getting it. This is ours. And it's very unfortunate with, this is almost like how pro wrestling is, right? Where you look at it and say, well, just because you call yourself the Bullet Club in New Japan doesn't mean you can bring the Bullet Club over to WWE or whatever, right? Because if Vince McMahon and WWE, if they can't own the IP, they're gonna well, you're gonna walk out with this IP, and we're not gonna let you walk out with this IP because we own it. It's pretty much the same thing, and most people in that industry, unless they own their own IP and they walk in and have the ability to walk in and walk out with that IP, they typically have to give up their identity. Look at like Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was Stardust for the longest time, right? And then as soon as he left WWE, he adopted his own name. But if you look at like Finn Balor, for example, Finn Balor walked in and, he said, I'm not signing the dotted line unless I get to keep rights to my, my IP. This is my name. This is my IP. It's my identity, Same thing with AJ Styles. Same thing. He walked in with his IP and said, "This is my IP. You're not, you can use my IP while I work for you, but if I quit, I'm walking out with this IP. This is because it's mine, So I feel a sense of relief within myself being able to read that they get to keep their identity. Yeah, of course, I don't need people to remind me about the bad blood that, between me and a certain person that works for Prism Project. However, if there's any big takeaway from this, I am personally very happy that she gets to keep her identity, because she has grown and adopted that identity into, most of her fans would be broken and and sad if she had to retire that IP, because that's pretty much how they know her, right? So Marko is starting to act okay, let's see here. Yeah, my memory my memory is not, I'll be honest, it's 5 a.m. where I am right now. So I'm still trying to wake up. That's why, like, my brain is just kind of going, Marko, that's the wrong agency, bro. You listening, Marko? Blah, blah, blah. Let's see, Marko's are oh yeah, okay, I read that one. Is it wrong? Like I said, health is rich. Keep it safe. Yes, health is important. Health is important, and I'm glad that I'm glad that that if you are stressed out and still trying to stream, I would encourage everyone, because I had to do it, right? I would encourage anyone who streams, if you're getting stressed out just trying to do your streams, dial it back a bit, or better yet, just take a break, because you're not going to do yourself any favors if you continue on and your mental health deteriorates, your physical health deteriorates, so on and so forth. I know how it feels for both of it. And when I took a month break and then came back, I felt so much better and so much more confident in myself to be able to say, hey, I think I can do this again. Because before I looked at it and I'm like, I cannot do this. I'm just hurting myself by doing it. So yeah, taking a break is important. Sony self. Oh, where'd it go? Come here. Sony so far been doing weird things. But if there's one thing Sony's good at, it's TV, audio, and camera. Video games is hit or miss. Movies as well. Also, Sony with VR should be pushed more. Well, and that's just it. Sony has they released. It kind of felt like Sony. So it kind of looked like Sony looked at like Mark Zuckerberg and said, "Hey, you're doing VR. Well, if Mark Zuckerberg's in VR, maybe we should do VR too. Hey, get a team together and work on this." And then they just lost interest. Because it really felt that way. And the other thing is, with the PS4, you're already trying to implement a thing with dated hardware, right? And at least with the PS5 has the staying power and the ability to at least continue to push PC into the realm of, yeah, our hardware is better on PC, but we can't make it work as well as how they've made the PS5. So being able to have VR on PS5 right now is a good thing. If they don't find a way to adopt it as a possible setting or project with one of the many developers that are under Sony's banner, it's just going to be a waste of time. And I think right now the best people to look at and say that this is what they're doing is look at what Steam's doing with their VR. Look at what some of the other companies are doing, especially in the VTuber realm with VR, because there's a lot of people, not just people, but agencies that that are lucrative, that are taking VR and they're doing a lot of good things with it. There's a lot of just look at Vizojo, for example. They the way that they're handling VR and integrating that into their 3D modeling is extraordinary. You almost have to look at that and say, hey, I wonder if they're willing to sell that to us, or they're willing to. If I was Vizojo, and they are basically creating tech in order to handle their 3D modeling and their interactions in VR, I would be telling them, if the technology that you're using isn't patent, go out and put a patent on it, and then you can start selling it, or you can start selling licenses out to people to be able to use that tech, because I'm continuously blown away with how they've handled VR. Now I don't know if Nanners had, if she had part of that, and then she's able to go back and kind of leech off of that, because I know she used that a lot, but still, I think it'd be a great way of diversifying what VR can do, right? Because we want to be able to move to a point where we basically, you and I could put on a headset and walk into a virtual, auditorium and watch a virtual, concert in VR. We would like that very much. I know a lot of people who would say, I would literally put down money to be able to go see that in VR. And if Yago, continues to push the way he wants to push, I know that's his ultimate goal, is to not just have, his VTubers performing on stage in front of a live audience. He wants to take that even further and be able to do a virtual concert, sell virtual tickets, and have people, paying customers and fans come into an auditorium in a virtual setting and be able to attend a virtual concert. So there's still a lot of money that could be walked away with it if there are people available to develop the technology. Let's see here. Yes, probably shut down. They probably shut down the agency down because they were losing money lately. So yeah, gotta cut them off, but Dan, this sure is generous. Yeah, it's very generous. I mean, you're talking about like, tens of thousands of dollars that, hopefully they didn't have to pay, a lot of money to be able to keep their IPs, and their names and everything else. I would venture to guess if there was a negotiation on that maybe they did have to pay out a certain amount to keep him. But I mean, as far as we know, I would say right now, just based upon what they're saying, that Prism and Sony is just saying, hey, you've done a lot for this brand over the last 2 to 4 years. These are your you are in the embodiment of these characters. We're never going to use them, so we're just going to give them to you. I would hope that's the case. I really would. All they care about mostly is money. Well, I know there's the entire discussion between big business and corporations and them wanting to make money and so on and so forth. And I mean, you can't have something just breaking even, because if you can't make a profit off of it, you can't grow that specific thing into something bigger, because you have to have the capital in order to do that, right? I mean, they're not gonna go into debt, with a project that may or may not, be lucrative for them. And if they do, they're gonna look for how long can I go with this project before the turnaround finally starts making me money. And if they bought them back in 2022 and they hadn't been able to make money for the last 2 years, or they aren't able to hit a certain benchmark, I could see Sony saying, hey, look, we tried to help you as much as we can. I mean they released an album under Sony's name. They've had concerts under Sony's name. They've had appearances in anime conventions and events, under the Sony banner. I mean, they've had a lot of opportunity to work with a major label and say, hey, this is what we can do for you. But if the return on investment is either just barely breaking even or even a loss, Sony's going to say, well, we're not going to keep losing money on a project. I mean, if you do that, that's basically saying you're willing to do charitable work for something that is not going to, pay the bills. And again, if they're looking at the bigger scope of things, which I think they are, both Prism Project and Sony, they're looking at this and saying, okay, look, this is what the big guns are doing. I mean, and we've talked about this on my channel before. The big, if you look at Niji averages 2 support staff per talent. Now, and again, that's just an average. That doesn't mean that each talent has, a manager and a technician specifically working with them, but that's the average support that you get at Niji. Cover core is I think it was like 4. So I want to say 4 support staff. I can't remember the average of them offhand, but I mean it's significantly different. But you have, I would if I were to ballpark it and just guess, they hired probably like 50 to 75 people to specifically work on their Hollow Earth project, and then the rest of them are doing the other things like doing art, illustrations, production with, various streaming, so on and so forth, right? So I don't know what the internal team was like for Prism Project. I never really looked into it as much as the big guns. But you could almost feel that the support team was probably a lot smaller than it really was, or should have been. I mean, I know Shogun was basically constantly bouncing in and out of every single stream, and sometimes we kind of wondered if Shogun was even sleeping because I was watching people in Prism Project at 2 a.m. and Shogun was still popping into their chat, and I know that Shogun had been looking at other streams as early as 7 p.m. the night before. So I'm kind of like, man, I hope Shogun's sleeping, but. Anyways, let's look at what else is chat saying here. I know Cole tried the coffee. He doesn't like it. Well, I'm currently on halfway through an energy drink. And I'm slowly waking up here. I'm not I can at least put a sentence together in my brain without kind of just sitting there going durr. Let's see here. PSVR is like PS Move. People play on PlayStation aren't interested in VR. Well, and that's the thing. A lot of VR is kind of like sightseeing of various. It's like sightseeing, different environments, but you're not really doing much in those environments. Or if you are doing stuff in those environments, it's mostly like it almost feels like an on-rail shooter, only you're in VR. And unless you get the experience like playing, Resident Evil in VR, if you get that's probably the biggest one aside from Half-Life Alyx that typically come to mind when I hear people say, "Hey, how, is VR worth buying?" I'm like, well. If you like playing this specific genre of things, yeah, it is. But otherwise, I never went out and bought it because if I went out and bought it, I would like to get the full setup and then look at like whether or not I could get a 3D model. But I mean, right now, I just don't see the need to buy the VR setup because I mean it's you'd spend like $1,000 on a system and barely use it. I would rather spend that money elsewhere. Hang on a second here. Okay. My excuse me. My phone was going off. Hey Marko, that's good that Visojo cosplay and the acting. I don't know about that. Oh yeah, do you know Face Connect has coffee? I heard that they had a coffee brand. I have not tried it, but that I did see what was it? I think it was something on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it about that, but I have not personally bought it. Maybe I should because maybe that will help me stay awake or wake up. let's see, everything must have balance, and that includes companies. And if you let the other side, there's that too much, you get addicted. Self discipline is a must. Yes, exactly. Tried brushing your teeth with two different toothpastes. Oh my gosh, I do not want to try that. You're on a coffee high 5 hours ago, and you're about to feel withdrawals. Oh man, watch. I hate the crashes. So like last week, and I know we're segueing a little bit, but last week, I was so I was so strung out on energy drinks and coffee because of that whole. I went back and I saw my stream from last week where I was kind of ranting about being a small VTuber. And I'm like, oh my god, I was really, really, really on a caffeine high. I was that was pure adrenaline, sugar, and caffeine combined with with irritation and amusement. and I was like, wow. Okay. Anyone here play Arknights or Battlecats? I played Arknights a long time ago, and I didn't really like it, so I just stopped playing it. The only thing I play right now in that genre is I do play Honkai Star Rail, and I've been trying to get back into Genshin because a lot of people I've met, especially Japanese streamers, yeah, I've been watching them play, and they're a lot farther into the story than me, and I look at what's happening in the storyline, and I'm like, oh man, that is so freaking cool, and so I try to pick it up and play it, and then like I slowly lose my motivation when I realize I have to go through all this other stuff just to get there. It's kind of like how I feel with Final Fantasy 14, because I'm still on Endwalker. I bought the Endwalker expansion, but I never got to play it because my mom passed away, and then I had to go take care of business down there, followed by several years of being depressed and everything else. And by the time I found my motivation to want to get in there and play it, I'm like, man, I have this entire expansion I have to go through, plus I have to grind all this other stuff. And I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know if I want to invest that kind of time in this because there's so many other games I want to play right now, and I'm kind of wondering with the girls here, and there's a couple guys in Prism Project, but with all the talent after March 31st, I wonder if they're gonna be able to have the same kind of. Actually, I think if they're gonna be independent or be considered independent, they basically just have to follow whatever the streamer rules are for the publisher of the game that they're playing. So I bet that they would have a better they probably will be able to play more games after they become independent in April or March rather. Because the only stipulations would be whatever the publisher places on the streamer, as far as monetization goes. But you know what? I'm really going to be interested to see if okay. So I'm going to dive into this just a little bit here because I do want to talk about this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm just looking at the wiki here, right? This is the wiki page for. Oops, I opened up Ludo. Okay, let me go back one. Go back one. Thank you. Okay, so I'm wondering, and this is going to be interesting because I'm wondering whether or not, like, Gen 3 is, I mean, they're tight. I know that they're tight. They absolutely love each other, and they're constantly like either rating each other, or they're constantly like entering each other's chat, and talking about each other or talking to them and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, it'll be interesting to see how many of these girls band together, either as, say, like maybe not so much like a making their own agency per se, but just making their own group, kind of like how different people in the music industry, they'll come together and like make a group for a little bit. They'll group together and have their own type of official name for them being together and stuff like that. Because Rita, I know Rita is, I mean, she's a strong VTuber, and she does legitimately care about people in her chat, and the people that come in and be part of her community. I've watched Iku. I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know if the personality matches the look, but okay, yeah, and I've watched Owie. Owie was pretty interesting, but I just, she streamed at an odd time for me, so I never got to like really be able to get into watching her. Mino, I have never watched her. But Rita and Luto, I both of them extremely strong women, and personalities. So I think if they, if she comes back or when she comes back, I think that they're all, going to do very, very well. Who knows if they're going to band together or not. But I know Gen 3, I would be very surprised if Gen 3 doesn't try to... see you later, Calvin. Take care. Thanks for dropping in. I'll be very disappointed if Gen 3 doesn't try to put a group together between the four of them. Because all four of them, I mean... Yeah, I've had my disagreements with Pina, but I recognize the talent that's there, and that's something I've always tried to tell her is I'm here. I told her that I am here to support you, the talent. I'm not here to support Prism Project. I don't care about the company itself. I care about the talent, the people that are behind the VTuber in the name, and that's why I'm here supporting, you women, but she did what she did, and it was very dirty. However, I'm not gonna sit here and like talk down about her just because, we don't get along. But I would really like to see these four women be able to get together and become a group, if nothing else, just be a group, and if they're a group unto themselves and they're able to be who they are, I mean, that'd be great. Now with Gen 4, I've only watched Sarah, and Sarah was very good. Now Sarah is the one, and I got sound bites to back this up. I didn't use them, but I was I was I have sound bites from her about how she explained that most of the girls in Prism Project are either people who they want to be singers, they want to be artists and singing and stuff like that, and they just couldn't break into the industry on their own, so they jumped into Prison Project, or that they are actors who could not get enough work to sustain themselves. So this is one way that they are, working them to build their brand so they could go into it later on. But that being said, Sarah is I think she sings very well, and acts very well. She did an entire ASMR stream that everyone was like, oh, this is cool, and she was acting like she was talking to her boyfriend, and that ASMR stream, it evolved from her being sweet and talkative towards us to like all of a sudden we were like right in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. And she did it all without laughing, right? And it was so cool because like she's sitting there and she's like talking to us and telling us like how much she loves us and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden you start hearing gunshots. And then at the very end you could hear this like banging against the door, and she's like talking like she's like panicking, she's like, I just want you to know, no matter what happens, if we get out of here, if we don't get out of here, I love you, blah 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 blah. And then you start hearing like the zombies like grabbing her and like taking her away. It was like so cool, and then later on, after that, she had an after stream on that, and she was like, yeah, it took all her willpower to like not start laughing with what she was doing, but it was a very good performance in ASMR of a situation. It was a situation stream of that, and she did a really good job. I mean, it sounded really believable, and even when the apocalypse started like breaking into the room, she still sold it very well. But she said, I have acting. She said, I have acting experience. I have, she's been in acting. She's been in theater and stuff like that. And she's like, that's what a lot of us have done in the past. Is we've done acting. We've been through the lessons and being taught and so on and so forth. They've had talent coaches that help them with that. And people really need to understand that in a lot of cases when it comes to VTubers especially, they are, they have acting experience, they have, singing experience, they probably worked with job coach or talent coaches and voice coaches and acting coaches and so on and so forth. In order to better do their character and their portrayal of who they are, that's why a lot of people don't realize. Like with Niji also their talent, and I know it hasn't bled over to the EN side, but their JP side, they've had the benefit of being able to work with voice voice coaches and talent coaches and acting coaches and so on and so forth in order to become a better person. I think that's probably why a lot of the JP people in Niji have been able to do as well as they have, and it's because they've been able to figure out and sell their character better because of the coaching they've gotten. Let's see here. You deleted Genshin yesterday? Oh, that's too bad. Well, I I mean, I haven't completely dropped the game because I mean, I've spent quite a few dollars on Genshin, especially like during the lockdowns and stuff like that. I mean, it was like Trump and Biden were like, "Hey, we're gonna send you a check, for a stimulus check, to help you out, right?" And I'm sitting there looking at that, and I'm going, okay, well, if they're gonna do that, I could probably spend this much on Genshin and get the characters I want. So like Biden and Trump basically helped pay for my Genshin characters by sending me money. But I mean, it's like it was money that I was able to set aside for those things. It wasn't like I chose Genshin over paying my bills or overeating or something like that. It was purely a surplus situation. Now that I don't have those kind of things being thrown my way, I'm a little bit more frugal with what I spend on games. But again, I do still play Star Rail, and I really enjoy it, and I've built a pretty solid team. Even though I've spent dramatically a less amount of money in order to build my roster, but I've gotten a lot of the 5 stars in that game. So I'm hoping that I'm just hoping that the story starts getting better, like Genshin Impact better, because there are some parts in it I'm like, why are we doing this? This is boring. Get us into something interesting. But yeah. Anyways, well, they are kind of free. Well, they are. Again, like I said, I have a ton of the 5 stars and Star Rail. Yes, I've spent money on the battle pass, right? But that's pretty much all I've spent is buying the battle pass, and I think I dropped the 20 somewhere because I wanted to get not Sparkle, but the one before her. And I didn't even have to drop any money to get Sparkle, the current 5 star. So I mean, I've done pretty well, See here. So let's I'm surprised that B2. So Calvin, I just want to I think you've already left, haven't you? Well, even if you already left, I do want to say that Genshin and Star Rail are pay to win, but I mean Genshin Genshin made $1 billion US dollars in a single calendar year, and they're still breaking records of money spent. So I mean, it's a big money maker. It's a huge money maker. That's how they're able to support a team just to work on Star Rail, and Star Rail is making a pretty good amount of money too. So I mean, if you're a company and you make $1 billion, you're not going to let that project die, but that's also why you have so many VTubers stream it, because part of the excitement is watching people spend money and see whether or not they get the characters, and or see how much money they spend on a game, because they missed on the 5 star poll. So daily login, yeah, I hear you. Arknights and all well, see, I mean, I tried Arknights, and but it's not a game that I can stream, because I hardly ever see anybody stream it unless they're a really big streamer, and they know that they're going to get an audience regardless. And a lot of my day is either doing my job, or getting ready for a stream. So and I have to be very picky about what I stream, because I would like to at least get people to come and watch, and that way I can slowly work towards monetization. But by the way, guys, thank you guys very much for the last couple months. In the last 3 months, you guys have helped me get 1,000 viewing hours on my channel, and we are only 2,000 hours away from me being able to monetize the channel. So thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate that. If I'm able to monetize my channel, and I would have to think of something later, but if I'm able to at least monetize my channel, it would go a long way to being able to play other games that come out, and I may not necessarily have the money to buy them at that time. But if I'm able to monetize my channel, it would go a long way to helping me being able to buy those games so I can stream them for people to watch, or even buy a game and then like invite viewers to come with me and play the game or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So thank you very much. I appreciate that. See, hey Marko, do you have experience in acting and sing? No, I do not. I don't have any entertainment experience. I did take public speaking in college, but that was a requirement for me to graduate. So I do have training with public speaking and speech making and stuff like that. But as far as acting and singing, no, I don't. But I have, and I haven't quite worked it all out yet. Because I've been kind of procrastinating on it, but I do have 2 songs that I'm in the process of memorizing, and I've been looking into getting the license in order for me to do a cover song on both of them. So depending, and again, it depends on how much the license is to be able to make those covers. That will kind of dictate how quickly I get them out, but I want to be able to at least do them by the end of this year. Since I'm not a singer to begin with, I've really been procrastinating on them. But I do have that set as a goal for me to at least make the attempt by the end of the year. So if I release them, they will be stealth releases. I want it to be a surprise, so I'm not going to tell you what songs I'm looking at. But one of them is Japanese, and the other one is English. So that's as much as I'm going to say. Okay, moving on. Trump do like his walls. This kitchen has a lot of walls. Yeah. I will agree with you that there. Genshin does have plenty of walls, including paywalls. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Well, Trump gonna love Battle Cats. I will look at Battle Cats. I have not looked at Battle Cats. Which are absolute tanks and literally okay. I know a certain cake princess has played Arc Knights. Really? I did not know that. At least we're helping my connection. Oh, don't die on me. Don't die on me. you can always just do songs like Weird Al did. Well, and that's kind of, well, okay. So I don't know exactly. There, okay. So there may be room there to do satire on songs. But the problem of it is if the background music has any relation or sounds anywhere similar to the original song, you still have to buy a license in order to do it. Otherwise, that person can or their agency can copyright your song and say that song is, is they're using a part of our, IP, so we're taking all your monetization off that song. So the easier way of doing it is that there's a certain process in the United States that allows us to be able to pay a certain fee in order to have a license to be able to cover the song that we want to cover, and that fee will go towards either their record label or whatever as proof that we have the license on file to be able to cover this song. So it's a lot easier. I don't know how it is in Japan, but I mean it's a lot easier and a lot less headache and hassle if you do it that way. So we'll see. We'll see. I have been working on and I have it partly memorized, but I don't have it all memorized. So the other thing too is I do have access to the sound recording and mixing software finally, and I've been slowly playing around working with that. So hopefully I'll be able to finish that. Learning how to use that software by the time I'm ready to put it all together. Now one thing I do want to say coming back here. I don't know about the rest of them here, but I know Pina specifically. She has a lot of experience mixing her own music and putting together her own covers and stuff like that. And if I remember what she said, she also has contract work outside of Prism Project, where she's worked on a lot of stuff like that. So I'm kind of wondering how well the rest of them are going to handle this with knowing that they'll basically either have to contract it out or do it on their own. I don't know if the rest of these how much experience they have putting together their own music. I know several of them have mentioned doing the recordings for them, but I think all of them and again I don't know enough about Prism Project itself to be able to say it for sure. I don't think any of them have gone into into an office or recording studio. But I mean, they might have, but I don't recall any of them ever talking about having to go to a recording studio to make their own music. Because I know Shiki and Yura and Pina. I remember all three of them saying that they recorded their music at home. And then they sent it through I think it was Discord or something like that, and then the person that on the other side mixed it for them. But then I know Pina has done a lot of mixing herself, so she has experience. But I don't know anybody from Gen 5. I've never seen these 5, and I know these 2 are no longer with Prism, but I've never seen or watched a stream with them. And was it her that had a lot of drama? And I think it was her that she had a lot of baggage she brought in with her, and they ended up letting her go, I think. See, that's just it, when Pina and her, and I'm not going to get into the entire thing, but when Pina and her support staff basically did what they did to me without any justification, it really soured me on the rest of the company, which was a shame because I really enjoyed Sarah. It was very strange because she had this like certain attitude towards her listeners, but when she would reply to me, her entire attitude really changed, and it was almost like she and again, this could have been her acting experience, but it was almost like she was taken by surprise when I talked to her and she replied back, because it almost felt like she didn't know how to react to me because I was being so nice. And I honestly, I look at her, and when I said something in chat to her, a lot of it was just, being supportive towards her. It always felt weird when she replied to me, because she was like very, very S towards the rest of her listeners, but it was kind of like she didn't know how to react to me being so nice to her. I don't know. I really don't know. But now that she is going to be independent, I kind of want to. I may take this off. Honestly, and being all real here, but and serious, I might actually take another shot at watching the talent that I liked before I had the fallout with Prism and Pina, because I genuinely enjoyed Sarah's streams. I couldn't really get into these three. Shiki was just, she was just too foul mouthed for me to really enjoy her. I mean, I know a lot of people really like Shiki, but it's really hard for me to sit there and listen to and tolerate somebody who constantly swears. Even guys, guys, I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, he's just trying to act tough, but because he's insecure or whatever. But when it comes to women in their streams, I can't sit there and listen to somebody swear for like 4 hours. If especially if you're a woman. See, and that's why I liked watching Pina when I, before all this weird stuff happened, because she never swore. She was always, she always tried to be considerate towards the people that were watching her and that kind of thing. She never talked dirty. She never did a lot of the other stuff. But Shiki was the total opposite. Nia, I don't remember much about Nia, but I think she kind of like followed in the same footsteps as Shiki, or maybe even more like Yura. I couldn't get into watching Yura either. I just could not buy into her character, I guess you could say. And I never watched Naki. I I don't think Naki streamed at a time where I could watch her. And Non, I do remember trying to watch Non, but she also Non 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 Non. How did you agree to having a name like that? Oh my gosh. I could not. I mean, I don't remember much about her streams other than her streams conflicted with me being able to watch somebody else. So I never watched her much. And I've never watched anybody from Gen 5, 6, or 7. But I do think I'm going to at least check them out now, and then maybe just kind of quietly, resubscribe to a couple of them that I really enjoyed. If I know and they say, hey, I'm going to keep on keeping on with my name and my brand after Prism Project dissolves. And I really hope that people who come in and watch me talk about this, you do the same thing, because I'm not going to wish any ill will towards anybody in Prism Project, even though I felt Prism Project did me dirty. I'm not going to wish ill will and point and laugh at them. Just because, their agency, is going to fold on them and, they're going to have to move on. I'm not going to point and laugh and say, that's what you deserve or anything like that, because they don't. I really hope that all these ladies are able to take their IPs and continue on and maybe even be better, now that they don't have an overlord to dictate what they can and can't do in their streams. Even the ones that I ended up having problems with. I really hope that Pina and all of these women, and especially in Generation 3, I really hope that they come together and they decide, hey, we're on April 1st, we're going to be our own thing, or be our own group or whatever, because these ladies here, I felt that they had that tight bond, like what you would see with Hololive Myth or the console. They seem to have a really tight bond with each other, and so I hope that they, especially if one of their fans comes in and say, oh, look, Marko is streaming on them, what kind of trash talk is he throwing? I'm not. I hope that if you watch or listen to any of them, especially, like I said, Gen 3, I would really hope that they would take, time to consider, even if they're running independently, that they take time to make an official group or unofficial group and say, hey, we're still going to do stuff together. We're all in, we're going to make our own group and do our own things, and we'll coordinate between each other, and that they're not going to scatter to the wind. And I really hope that these women in Gen 1 and Gen 2, there's only 3 here and there's only 2 in Gen 2. I hope that these women are able to, get together with some of their other Gen mates and say, hey, we're going to build a network between ourselves, so, we could do stuff, and we still talk to each other, and we can still coordinate and everything else together, because honestly, I kind of envy people who have the ability to, work in this kind of environment and build those kind of bonds. And that's kind of, it's really hard as an independent VTuber, because, all you can do is rely on yourself, right? So, but let's see what smaller VTuber Oren is in the hospital, but she has too much stress because Japan earthquake. Well, and that's just it too. You know, a lot of these girls, you know, they have a lot of stress on their plate, and I mean, from just from what Pina was telling me, and she wasn't just telling me; she was telling her chat. She was saying that she works an 8 to 10 hour, 12-hour job, and then she comes home and then jumps on and tries to stream, and she can only spend like 3 or 4 hours streaming before she has to get off and then either get ready for the next day or work on something else, because she also had that side job of mixing music and all a lot of other things that she was working on. And so it's a lot harder for them because they're looking at trying to make something out of being a VTuber, but they're only able to do it part-time, and their expectations that their company overlords are dictating to them, right? So I think that there's a lot of different types of stress that you get as a independent VTuber, right? Especially if you're only relying on being a VTuber as your sole source of income, which I think is an extremely bad idea of doing, because your income is going to really depend on being able to your endurance and being able to keep streaming and gain new followers and everything else. That being said, I think that a lot of these girls will likely feel a sense of relief after Prism Project closes their doors, because they're not going to have to report and meet expectations of somebody above them. The only expectations they're going to have to keep are the expectations of their fan base and themselves, and stay motivated to be able to continue on. And the other big thing too is since they are technically going to be independent afterwards and keep their own identities and everything else, they're actually kind of fortunate, because they are going to cut a middleman out of the equation, and Sony Music Entertainment and Prism Project. They're not going to be taking the cut out of their paycheck. Yes, they're not going to be paid by Prism Project or Sony anymore. However, that money is not going to be going directly into their pocket. So basically, the only money that is going to be coming out of their pocket is what they spend on their channel, and then also the cut that Google or YouTube takes out of their super chats and memberships and everything else. So it's actually going to be a pretty good exchange there, because you're not going to be paid and covered by a big company anymore. But on the flip side, you're going to be able to pocket the 100% of the profits that come your way. Now, this is very concerning to me as far as the greater scope of what is happening in the VTuber community at this point, because again, you have Prism Project that is, they're not a huge company, but they are significant, because they are a VTuber company that came out in Tokyo, and they hired a lot of English speaking VTubers, which was very interesting for them being in Japan and only focusing on English speaking VTubers. They kind of hit a market that was kind of prime for exploitation, for lack of a better word, because there was a very large untapped market that Hololive Myth was tapping into, and Hololive hadn't at that time like committed to bringing in more VTubers to pull in that English speaking market. So Prism Project and Production Kawaii, they really were able to kind of jump on that untapped market and say, hey, we got English VTubers over here, why don't you go check them out, right? Now I'm curious, because we'll click on Pina. We'll look at Pina's YouTube here. I don't know if she has an autoplay. Like Pina has 25,000 subscribers, and she's not doing bad for herself considering everything. And it looks like she is doing an announcement about the about the closure of Prism Project. And I think I will jump in and at least see what she has to say, because I'm kind of curious of how things are going to play out. Okay, that just leads to there. Okay. So I'm curious on what is going to happen with her generation. And then also Sarah. I mean, I really loved watching Sarah, so I'm going to jump on hers real quick. YouTube. Oh, you don't have. Oh, there it is. Media. Okay. And Sarah has 21,000, and I guess perhaps they were, Sony was looking at this and saying, they're not getting enough growth to match continuing to pay. I'm wondering. Because, I mean, Sarah has been around for 3 years. 3 years going on her 4th year. And, I mean, that's not bad growth, honestly. For 3 years, you're growing about, what, 7,000 subscribers a year. I mean, that's not bad growth. I mean, Prism Project didn't explode into popularity like Hololive. However, Hololive really has, they're able to pick the cream of the crop and pull those talent over to themselves, especially if they are non-affiliated. So, that isn't bad growth, honestly. Same with Pina. Pina has been around, for 3 years as well. And, I mean, that's not bad growth either for 3 years. You're still pulling in, 8,000 a year. And I think she did pull in, 10,000 in her first year, so. Okay, so let's look at the chat here a little bit more. Back to 4 viewers. Well, I think that the viewership kind of goes up and down depending on if a window is closed or something like that. I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's fine. Connection's so bad nowadays. I hope that your connection stabilizes. Marko, I shall nominate you the next time the Goblin King next to the Goblin King. Well, hey, I appreciate that. How about Hololive? What do you mean? What do you mean? How about Hololive? And back to for you. Okay. I just picture Marko hanging out with Mongol, taking out the perfect pizza, and then VTubers and companies. I mean, I've always said this. Okay, I've always said this, and I do mean it. I played the lottery when the pot starts getting pretty big. Only and I only bought like 1 or 2 tickets, and I know that the odds of winning it are astronomically high. I have a better chance of being hit by a meteor than winning the lottery. But that being said, I've always said if I come into that kind of money, I would found my own VTuber company and hire like the best of who applies for my company, right? And I mean I have the entirety of what I want kind of planned out in my mind. I want to find I found my own company. I want to be able to provide the talent that I hire with the option of living in kind of like it's not a dorm setting, but kind of like an apartment type setting, and have those apartments near where I have my offices and the sound rooms, and everything else, have the whole setup there, right? And I really mean it too. If I came into that kind of money, I would hire them, I'd bring them in and say, look, we're going to start this new company. We're all starting from scratch. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, but I am going to do what I can, and spend what I can in order to make you guys, successful. But you're going to have to ride this with me, okay? This is going to be, like a 1 year, 2 year contract type thing. And we have to, be successful for us to continue on. If we're not successful, we're going to have to, talk about, shutting down. But I mean, I have this like all planned out in my head, of how I want things set up, and how I want what things I want to be able to offer talent that I hire and stuff like that. But that all depends on whether or not I ever win the lottery, which I probably won't. So let's see here. Great imagination. Yeah, great imagination is great. Sony couldn't advertise them a bit more. Well, I don't know how much Sony spent on Prism Project, to be honest. Based on the comments that Shogun has said, it sounds like they at least attempted to try to push their brand a bit. Let's see here. Because I mean, even Shogun says, our opportunity to bring Prism's talent to a much larger audience, and this is after the transition to Sony, achieve a long list of firsts for Prism and staff and talent team, and had the chance to continue to pursue their mission of helping each other and every one of our viewers find something they love, etc., etc., etc. I honestly think that it might be less of like a failing of advertising, and more of them looking at what more do we have to spend or do in order to make that next step, right? Because they can push a product and advertise it and get that short-term bump in either sales or views or advertising profit and stuff like that. But if you don't have that sustained ability to have the talent bring in a certain amount of profit for that calendar year, the advertising is going to matter, because they are going to look at that and say, well, why should we bother to advertise something that is not meeting customer expectations in the first place? You know what I'm saying? So again, I think that based upon what Shogun said here, it looked like they looked at the project as a whole, and they said, we've plateaued with all of our talent here. How are we going to make them more successful, and how much is that going to cost? And I'm willing to bet that they looked at it and said, okay, well, in order for our talent to be better or get better or bring in more customers and make our product more lucrative and profitable, we're going to have to spend money on support teams, support staff, perhaps even invest in better gear or better equipment. You're looking at a lot of costs there, because I don't believe these women necessarily had a lot of support staff behind the scenes. I know that they had their community mods that worked, in their chats. I know that Shogun was basically jumping from one person to another, checking in on them and looking at what was going on. And from what I remember hearing from some of the talent that worked with Prism Project, it seemed like there were some people that were working behind the scenes for them, doing like sound mixing and all that other stuff. But they also sourced a lot of stuff, either by their own pocket or them doing it themselves, or even like fan submissions. And I mean, Pina, used a lot of fan art in order to do a lot of her like thumbnails and other things. So, and I do know from the conflict that we had with each other, there a lot of the big spenders were they practically ran the quote unquote fan server in Discord, and they spent a lot of money on these VTubers. And I can say for certainty that there was one guy that I know. I mean, he was dropping over $100 on everyone in Gen 3. I think everyone in Gen 2, and both of the people in Gen 1. Or, I think maybe I got that backwards. But I mean, he was dropping well over $100 a month. There were 3 in Gen 1, but he would come through, and he was like dropping 100 on every one of these ladies on a weekly basis. And he happens to be co-owner of their unofficial Discord channel. So I mean, it's not for a lack of funding. I know that much. But that being said, I think likely, even with the amount of money that they were pulling in, I honestly think that they were not getting the type of funding that they were hoping for. And this is the other thing too. Pina, she asked people to donate through Streamlabs instead of YouTube, because YouTube took so much more of the profit that that would come in. And she has shut off the amount that people spent after she got called out on how much people were spending on her. But Wow. And the biggest, saddest loser, sir, if you ever do come into my stream, into or especially this one, I just gotta ask you, why are you spending so much money on her? I mean, I'm not gonna pick a fight with her, and I'm not gonna go on a rant about her. But that being said, just knowing that she bans people just to make them spend money to talk to her. Why are you doing this, man? I mean, anyways, I don't know. I don't care. Honestly, I don't. But I do want to say that, I think that they're going to do a lot better now that they're once they don't have one a company taking half or a third of their income. So I mean, Meriden is one of those big whales that I was talking about. Let's see. I mean, if you come and look at the all-time spenders here, Meriden's over here too. He's that guy that comes along and drops like well over $100 a week on all these women. But I mean I almost think that there is some sort of like well, I'm not gonna get into conspiracies, but I don't know how he manages to pay these women that much money without getting a kickback or something. I don't know, but I'm not gonna go into that because I don't want to sit here and kick a person while they're down. But I do think that everyone should look at if you watch any of these women, and make sure that you check in and make sure that you find out whether or not they're going to keep going. Maybe encourage them to form their own group, even if they're not like purely business in a group in business, but at least a group in solidarity. So they I would hate to be so close to people like this, and then have something come along like a company closing down on me, and then having to go your separate ways. I couldn't do it. I would want to be able to say, hey, look, just because we don't work for the company anymore doesn't mean that we have to stop talking to each other. But let's see here. Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Marko getting hit by a meteor is a chance, yes, but it's never zero. Hey, like I said, if I came into that kind of money, I would definitely put it down and say, hey, let's do something with it. Let's launch our own project and see how successful we can be. I mean, I would start off hiring two women and say, two VTubers and say, look, you two are going to be Gen Zero here of this company, and I'm putting down X amount of dollars. Let's see how well we can do it. I'm gonna boost advertising for you. We're gonna try our best and to get the name out and the word out that you're here. If we make this successful, we can do big things with it, and I will be willing to make sure that you're funded for it. So I would do it purely because I would like to at least run a VTuber company the way I want to run it, and not like how everyone else says, well, that's just the way it's always been. That's what all VTuber agencies do. That's blah, blah, blah. I was like, I want to be able to run things my way, and prove that it can be done that way and it can be successful. But that's just me, First things first, I have to get the money and I have to win the lottery. Okay, gonna cost a lot and needs luck. Well, see, that's just it. Look, okay, I would honestly, this is what I'm looking at. Okay, like say I came into a lot of money. Okay, say I came into a lot of money, and I was able to open up my own agency or my own group. Found my own group, hire talent and stuff like that. Start off with 2 talent. I would say, look, okay, you're gonna, you could, I'll provide housing for you. You don't have to pay housing. I'll supply that. I'll supply everything else. This is going to be a year project between us, between all of us. We'll see how successful we go. All right, and I'll give you a base salary once you're monetized. We'll look at monetization and figure something out there. And I know I would know that and already realize that I'm gonna be putting money up front, and I may not see a return on that investment unless we're able to get successful. But in order for me to do that, I'm gonna have money I didn't have in the first place, and if we fail at it, well, we'll fail at it because we'll fail at it, but with money that I didn't have in the first place, and at least we tried. But again, I have my own kind of vision on how I would do it if I came into that kind of money. And I would hope that I would be able to run things better than how Niji is running their thing. And I would have my own set of rules that hopefully would be better than what Yago is doing with Hololive. And I'm not going to make the mistake of saying my VTubers are going to be the next AKB48. I'm not going to make that mistake. I'll make a different mistake, or that, and say, hey, my VTubers are say so, right? And then of course they turn around and they're completely bottom left or something like that. But anyways, let's see here. If only I could draw, my imagination would be reality. Well, and that's the other thing too. I haven't had the opportunity to practice my drawing as much as I wanted to. And I got first things first, I have to figure out some of the lingering issues I have between my 2 PCs, but I would like to be able to get back to that and learn and practice and learn more after I get things working again. Let's see here. Hey Marko, you gonna end soon? It kind of depends. Because I mean we've covered most of everything that has been said. And we've covered a lot of what was in the release and everything else. So the question remains now, what's going to happen with these ladies? And I would honestly say that I'm gonna try to poke my head into as many streams as possible, so I can at least gain an understanding or view of what each lady is thinking about what's coming up ahead, and hopefully they're able to say while they're still under contract, be able to say yes. It's unfortunate that Prism Project is going to cease operation, but no, I'm not going to graduate, and I'm going to keep going with my channel, as it is after Prism Project closes their doors. I'm hoping that's what most of them say. and again, I'm gonna try to drop into as many of them as possible, so I can kind of gain a tally of where each one of the talents are at in their thought process, so we can, at least have like maybe, if I don't do it live, I'll do it in a video, and we can make a complete coverage update and say, this is what each, these are the talents that are, going to go on hiatus and maybe think about things for a while. These are the talents that are going to keep on keeping on, and these are the talents that, have decided, they're not going to use the assets from Prism Project and they're doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? But I have a feeling that most of them will likely, keep on keeping on with what they got. And I do hope that Shogun and Prism Project allow the ladies to talk a little bit about, what their plans are after this month, and not, hold them back from being able to share that kind of stuff. And I honestly, I think that they'll be given that kind of leeway, considering what Sony has already provided them. I mean, just being able to carry on your own, that, the IP that you've settled, you've made and created for yourself while under Prism Project's banner, and then being able to take be given those assets and that IP, and that brand, and keep going with it, is a big thing, because it takes some people years to be able to establish their own brand. I mean, I don't even have my own brand, but I do title call myself when I start my streams, but I mean, I don't have a serious brand that I push out there, because I don't really have anything to push out there. Other than my voice and me doing the streams, so, but that's a different topic. I want to be able to go and find, listen to as many of them as possible, and find out whether or not, they're going to go on hiatus, if they're going to continue on, April 1st, or if they're, going to just graduate and maybe move on to something else, or their old identity again. I mean, who knows? I kind of wonder whether or not any of these ladies, had a larger following before working at Prism Project, because if they, if their current communities are already there and they're able to continue on with those communities after April 1st, I would seriously question why you would decide to throw that identity and that community away and tell them to migrate over to something else. If, for any other reason, you're able to have your own brand and identity from what you are now, and have that community already established, there's really no reason to throw away that IP or that name and then go to something else, unless there is some sort of like history, or maybe even, some lingering dirt that you're carrying, or baggage you're carrying with that current identity, and you're like, I don't want to deal with this, and honestly, some people do this, where they feel like they have baggage with a certain identity, and so they just completely throw away that identity, and then they come back with a different one, and they start differently because they don't want to have that baggage migrate over to something different. So, I mean, I don't think anybody who is currently with Prism has that kind of problem. I do know that a couple of them, have gotten into a few sticky situations other than me. But I don't think any of them have had such a bad thing going. I take that back. I know that there was gosh, who was it? I know what one or two of them did have somebody that was cyber stalking them, and making threats towards her, and then she did have to go on hiatus. But I don't remember who it was, and I do know that Shiki, and this is between us, but Shiki has her past life and even her real name is out there on certain internet sites that specialize in past life information. And I reported it to Prism Project. I sent Prism Project an email, and I tried to bring it to Shogun's attention. But as of today, that information is still out there, and it's kind. I even tried to get a hold of Shiki and tell her directly, but who knows if she got the got the notification, but. Yeah, so I mean, like, her past life is out there and currently public. I'm not going to share where it's at, but it is out there. So I do hope that no one has any baggage come April 1st. Before you end, I have something to say to you honestly. I spend more time watching you for hours till you end because you're kind of entertaining than the actual big hitters, like actual real VTubers. I just subscribe to their channels, unlike you watch comfort. Hey, I appreciate it. I try to be a little bit entertaining. I try to be, I try to be truthful. I do try to be entertaining when I'm able to. I don't necessarily have the, I don't have the acting ability to spontaneously think of something funny to do off the top of my head. But it just kind of has to happen organically, or it doesn't happen at all. That being said, when I play, like, if I'm playing a game or watching something that I'm able to react to, it makes it a lot easier for me to come up with those types of reactions, or say something in response to what I'm watching or playing, or things like that. But also, that's why I'm trying to honestly watch my chat window a lot more this year than I have in past years, because I have my interface and all my logistic stuff for streaming on a second monitor that is off to my left, and then I have all the stuff that is I'm sharing with you, the viewer, on my main screen. And a lot of times I get focused on what I'm doing on the main screen and forget my chat window, and then people just like my stream last year, a new person came in, subscribed to my channel, and then he said a couple things in chat, and I completely missed it because I was busy talking and looking at my other screen. And I don't know how long he stayed in chat, but I know he's like, yeah, you're ignoring me. And it wasn't I was ignoring them. It was that I got so focused on what I was saying and looking at my main screen while talking to you guys, that I forgot to look down and see if anybody had said something in response. So I'm trying to do a better job at that now, so people realize that I do legitimately want to interact with them. But that being said, if I don't respond to you right away, please don't take offense to it, because more often than not, it's just that I start talking, I get on a roll, and I forget to look at what people are saying. um, in my opinion, Ludo graduated silently. Well, see, I don't know what the story is behind her being radio silent the way she is. And we'll look at her Twitter profile. So she did post 7 hours ago. Everyone in Prism will always be family, even Baka Tenshi, I guess. Sorry for the shock. I know it's sad news, but Luto KO Luto's not going anywhere. We'll talk more about this later. Okay, so then this was 8 hours ago. So hopefully she will come back and do a stream, or at least say something, silently. She hasn't. Wow, she hasn't streamed for 5 months. Wow, that was her last live stream, was 5 months ago. Wow, she hasn't streamed since September 9th. Yikes. I do hope she's okay. I mean, honestly, if she has not streamed since September, I just want to listen to her statement here real quick. Oh, that took me to her. Why did you say I'm sorry and then link your cover song? I don't get that. Okay. Anyways, hopefully she does say something, or at least release a video statement. We'll keep an eye on Luto, guys. Okay. We'll keep an eye on her and see what happens. Because that is concerning that she hasn't streamed since September. But I'll say the same thing about her as I said about Hachima. Okay, if she is having problems, mentally or psychologically, if she was, she felt like she was overburdened with stress or something to that effect, and we're throwing out a lot of ifs here, okay, but I want to say this and the correct context, because we do not know exactly what is happening with her, but that being said, we do know that she hasn't streamed since September of last year, and then yeah, okay, so on February 6th, she said that she was going to extend her break till the 20th. And then she streamed from February 20th through September, and then hasn't streamed since September. So that's 5 months. And for her to take as many breaks as she has, it's extremely possible that she has just been either being stressed from having all the things that come along with being a VTuber and streaming and putting out covers and meeting deadlines and all this other stuff. But it could also mean, and I'm just throwing this out there, that it could also mean that there's something going on that we don't know, with regards to, maybe somebody has been, psychologically attacking her, or she has, she started streaming and then somehow people were trying to figure out where she was, because I know that there has been several VTubers, even in the smaller agencies like like Prism Project and Production Kawaii and all those other smaller agencies where something happens, and with them being a smaller agency and a smaller VTuber, you tend to be able to get more interaction with them. They're prime targets, a lot of them, to have these not so mentally well healthy people start building a parasocial relationship with them, and then that relationship falls apart, and then they go into I'm gonna ruin you mode. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's a lot of things that could be in play with Ludo, and I don't want to speculate too much about what is going on with her, when I really don't know. But that being said, I do hope that she is at least doing well with herself, if she is dealing with things that mentally and psychologically, yeah, I mean, she didn't stream there, but she was at least a part of that stream with League. Oh, that is. If you're 25 plus and unmarried, what the are you doing? Your mom. I that made me laugh. That just made me laugh. I don't know why, but that made me laugh. But anyways, I mean, it looks like she's at least staying active on social media. Oh yeah, there was that preg, yeah. Now see, I'm seriously wondering, and this is just a again, this is just speculation. I've never heard her ASMR stream. But I'm kind of wondering whether or not this was something that was pushed upon her, or if she like decided, hey, I'm going to give this a try, because I remember her kind of being uncomfortable with even thinking about doing this, and I don't remember her ever doing ASMR when I was still watching her. And see, and that's the other thing too, guys. You got to realize, there are a lot of things that come down from corporate, or whoever the managers are, or whoever the executives are, right? Where they say, okay, well, we need to spice up her, these girls, streams, make them do ASMR. That's a hot thing that look at so and so and so and so, they do a ASMR, and they're getting all the this type of viewership, and things like that. So they kind of make the ladies do those things, even if they're not comfortable doing it. Like Corone, not knee, Corone, Corone in Hololive. She did that little thing. She did a collab with Noelle, right? But that was Noelle's setup, and then she started doing ASMR on her own, and she's like, I don't know what to do. When it's just me alone, I don't know what to do. Because she wasn't comfortable doing it. She it wasn't her idea in the first place, and she said, I the only thing I know how to do, without like feeling awkward, is talking. So all of her ASMR streams were just basically her talking into an ASMR mic. because it wasn't something that she wanted to do in the first place. Now if you get someone like Marine, where she basically looks at it as a big funny joke, where she tries to okay, I'm gonna try to do this, and then she tries to be sexual, sensual, or do the female enticing type of actions that people do with ASMR mics, and then she starts laughing because she finds the whole situation funny, and she can't do it without laughing. She at least has something to build on with that, right? And her thing is all, I don't know how to handle this. But that's different than forcing it upon talent and saying, hey, do this because it's going to make you more popular. And you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? On the flip side, I really gotta, and I don't mean to, again, I'm not picking fights with anybody. But I do know that, a lot, and I'm talking a lot, of Pina's memberships on her channel are basically ghost accounts. And the reason why I know this is because I've seen the chatter behind the scenes, and some of her biggest donors basically go out there and create ghost accounts and then subscribe to her channel to boost her subscription rate. And you can see that. I mean, it's extremely obvious that I mean, she's at 25.8, right? And then right here she was at 25,674. It's extremely obvious because she gets this influx of people who subscribe, but her viewership count never rises. It's always the same people that are watching her, or they're or they're ghost spots that are being ran by somebody else. But her viewership count never rises. Her subscriptions rise, but she doesn't she's only retaining the people who are there. So that's the other big thing too, is I don't know if people realize it, but even when you're boosting somebody's subscription count, unless you have that viewership to go along with it, it doesn't mean much. After you've gotten monetization, it really doesn't mean much, because if you don't have people watching you, or increase the amount of people that are watching you, along with along with that subscription rate, you're not getting the increase or the bigger ad revenue. You're not getting potential people who are going to spend money on memberships or super chats. All you're getting is you're just inheriting a bunch of ghost accounts that do absolutely nothing but boost your subscription rate. That's it. So, I hope that a lot of these women, I don't know if they truthfully have interactions with their bigger donors or not behind the scenes. I kind of have a feeling that some of them do, but I don't have any way of proving it. But that being said, I do hope that these women do take stock, do an assessment of how their channel is and how it's being ran, and then plan out with some of their other gen mates what is what they're gonna do in the future. I mean, it sounds like, of course, I know Ludo is basically making this comment, saying that everyone is everyone is family. Everyone's always going to be family. That's the way that everyone in Prism Project thought of each other, which is a nice a nice message to reassure the fan base out there. But the reality of the situation is, a lot of them are going to have to take stock and realize that they are not having they're not going to have the same amount of support after this month, and they have to realize how am I going to handle this moving forward? Because I know for a fact that Pina is a good singer. I will not talk down on her talent. I believe Pina has what it takes to be a good singer and a successful idol. I honestly do believe that. I do believe she has the talent for it. But after this month, she's not going to have Prism or Sony to fall back on and be able to help her with all these things. So she's either going to have to take on those things herself, or have somebody manage her, for lack of a better word. But that being said, I mean, this is, out of all the communities that I have seen, this community here at least has a strong camaraderie between that, and everybody who is a fan in Prism Project, I believe that they have a strong sense of family among the fan base, because a lot of the fan base, they flow from one person to the next streamer, or they simultaneously watch the streamers. One of the big downfalls that they had, but it was not as bad as, say, Niji or Covercore, is that a lot of the streamers and each generation tended to stream at the same time. So they were either they're either sharing the fan base, or they don't have as much viewership as what they could have if they would just change when they stream. I'll be honest with you. When Pina would stream in the mornings at like 8-9 o'clock in the morning, I mean, she gained an entirely different part of her fan base, that and she was getting 80, 100, 120, 150 people watching her at the same time when she was streaming in the morning, and none of her other gen mates, and I don't think anybody else in Covercore was streaming during that time frame. And so she was able to exploit that time frame and the amount of viewership solely for her, because she was not robbing other people or sharing among other viewers. And that's extremely important, because if you don't have that watch time duration per viewer, that directly affects your metrics and your ad revenue, your metrics, your part of your monetization, and then of course it also directly affects the ability to gain more followers and everything else. Because a lot of times people will watch somebody, and then like after that's over with, they'll go and look at the other person, and they may have a VOD up there, right? But maybe that viewer probably only watches 18 to 25 minutes of that VOD, and then they shut it off. And that's a very truthful thing that happens with most streamers. Is like this stream here, people are gonna look at it, right? They're gonna look at it, and they're gonna watch maybe 8 to 10 minutes in the very beginning, and then they won't watch any further. And unfortunately, that's bad for a streamer, because if you stream for 4 hours, and you get 20 people to be able to watch those 4 hours, that's 80 hours of watch time right there that count towards your monetization. But if they only watch 10 minutes of a 4-hour video, you're only getting, if 20 people watch 10 minutes, you're only getting 200 minutes. That's like 3 hours, a little bit more than 3 hours. So it definitely hurts. But that's kind of why the current trend is a lot of people they're making those shorts, and they're making 4-minute videos, because a lot of people tend to they'll tune into a video that's 4 minutes long, but they're gonna click off of it as soon as they're done. So being able to get them to watch for the whole 4 minutes is a lot easier than try to get them to watch for the entire 4 hours. So if you look at Pina's channel here, and I like picking on her because as much as I have my opinion on her, she does do a lot of things extremely well. If you look at her shorts here, her shorts almost match up, or they get more views than her live streams. And this is one thing she does extremely well with her streaming. If you look at the first 3, 6, 9, 12. Just look at the first 12 of her shorts here, and you get 890, and then you get goes down to 585, but then she gets up to 3.6 views. This one here 2.7. She averages between 600 to a couple thousand, right? And then if you go over to her live streams, she gets the same amount, but that's a 2-hour video. This is a 3-hour video. 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. She gets the same amount, but they're spread out over 2 hours, so you're not getting the full benefit of those people watching you. So she does it extremely well, and so I don't have any concern that Pina is going to exactly struggle after Prism Project folds and she has to go out on her own. I would be more concerned about her health and her stamina, because she tends to put a lot of time and effort into doing several jobs, putting time into practically everything, and not sleeping a lot. So that would be my main concern with her, but I don't think she's going to have a problem. Now Ludo, I have not looked at Ludo's here, but we'll look at hers real quick. She's doing just as much better, if not more. She got 25K on Thai. Why is it milk? Wow. She was hitting some pretty good numbers here at one point. And this video was taken down for She had a short taken down for YouTube's terms of service. She broke TOS on the video, apparently. But I mean, if we look at her live streams here, and we'll come look at her live streams, she does very good for herself. 4.1, 1.4. She's averaging over 1,300 views per video. So I mean, she's doing pretty good for herself. And that's those. Honestly, those numbers are not bad for somebody who has 70K in views or in subscriptions. So, I mean, yeah, you want to have more than you always want to have more than what you get. But I mean, for having 70,000 subscriptions and being able to retain at least, I mean, she's maintaining at least like a 15%, 13 to 15% viewership to subscription ratio, which isn't bad. I mean, a lot people usually average a lot less because people don't tune in, especially if you're doing something that, maybe people don't want to really watch. But oh, look, finally made it to 6 viewers. Back to 4 again. Well, I'm here since almost the start. Pina she has an upcoming stream here pretty quick. I mean, she has the announcement stream that's coming up here at 3 p.m. my time. So I'm assuming that's probably 5 a.m. your time. So, but I will be tuning into her to see what she has to say. We will also watch Ludo and see if she doesn't do a stream on things. And and I'm gonna try to pop into as many of these streamers as possible to gather the info. That way I can make a separate stream or a separate video just to kind of do a summary update of who's doing what. I will definitely keep an eye on that. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we have covered as much as we could cover on this topic here. I do not want to keep anybody if you have other things that you want to do. I will still be playing Guardians of the Galaxy tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I am starting an hour earlier because I know that this game is dialogue heavy on a lot of things. And I have tested out the controls on it and tried to tweak the graphics to maintain the best frame rate to quality ratio as possible. I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, but I will be trying my best to stream it tomorrow as well. Basically, because I had to take this week off because I had several other obligations that took up my time. And then I also crashed extremely hard after I stopped drinking the coffee and energy drinks. So, but the entire situation with Doki Bird got me extremely wound up. And Big Lawyer and Big VTuber was they both wound me up pretty hard. So I am essentially just gonna adopt the small VTuber thing into my own persona for now. So yeah, small VTuber is gonna be a Guardian of the Galaxy tonight. So we will see it as far as we can go with the game. If I enjoy it a lot, I'll keep streaming it. I do also intend on starting the Japanese stream again, purely to try to keep me motivated to continue learning as much as possible and share the experience with other people. I do have access to a Japanese server for Minecraft. They did invite me to play on their server, so I may stream that and just kind of like do a Minecraft and chat type of stream, just so we could talk about things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about current topics. It could be about completely different topics. And again, I am I don't really have the motivation to continue playing Genshin, but that could change if, and this is a big if we move closer to monetization, and I'm able to like at least get some kind of support with that, so I could play Genshin, and make it a little bit more exciting, other than just being a free to play type player. I mean, that would definitely help, but I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn between it, because I'm trying not to get into the gacha gamble habit. And Genshin winds me up like that, where I want to spend and get those characters, but in order to spend, you have to spend. So I don't know, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. You'll try to tune in if possible. Thank you so much. Even if you just tune in and say hi. I will try Battle Cats. We'll see how we like that. Almost 3. Wow, has it been almost 3 hours already? Oh man, it doesn't feel like I didn't realize we had been streaming for almost 3 hours. It kind of feels like I only started like half an hour ago. Wow. It's from 2012. Okay. I have not, and we'll just I'll just pull it up here. BATT battle. Oops. Cats. Battle Cats. Play on. Okay. Is there a video? Do they have a? They do have a YouTube video. Okay. I just want to take a look real quick. This is the one you're talking about, right? I have no idea what you're talking about here. I hope this is the one that you're talking about. Captain Sauce with Battle Cats. Okay. T-I Sauce Battle Cats. Captain Sauce with Battle Cats. Okay. These are cats.
Give me a cool cat. Give me a god. Wouldn't that be amazing? Whoa. Uber super rare. What is this? Marauder cat? How is that?
Interesting.
What freaking's wrong? Oh no. No.
Okay.
Damn paint. Why do they have giant?
This looks like so this looks a lot like the Holiday Parade game that came out. Okay, now I see where the inspiration from it came out. Okay, so this is kind of like a tower defense game with gacha. Interesting. Okay, I will definitely give it a try. Captain Sauce without cats. Okay, okay. There's a U.S. and a global. Okay, I will give it a shot, and we'll see how it goes. I do try to stay away from gacha that are addictive, because I try not to spend, but we'll give it a shot. Also, like I do still play mahjong. I'm thinking about doing a stream where I try to do kind of like an endurance stream type thing. And I keep playing until I hit expert level on my ranking. I'm kind of thinking about doing that and seeing how long it takes for me to get to expert. But I'll put up a room for that when I'm ready to do that, because I want to make sure I have enough time to be able to do that as well. It's very easy to get rewards and no need to spend money. Awesome. Yes, awesome. All I need is patience. Well, that's just it. Patience wears kind of thin. So, but again, guys, I'll be going through and I'll be checking each member in Prism, and hopefully their announcements or their talk streams about the future don't overlap with one another. But I will try my best to gather as much information as possible about what they're going to be doing, and then I'll either do another live stream with the information I've gathered, or I will do a video and say, kind of show, okay, this person's doing this kind of thing. So but I do hope that, again, I do hope that they do try to keep that sense of family, because their fan base is very much like the girls that left production Kawaii for being independent, and then founding their own VTuber group. They're an extremely loyal fan base. So I do hope that we see that among these ladies as well. So, but all right. So let's quickly go through and we will definitely come on. There we go. Oh. There's my playlist. I was looking for that. Okay. So and like I said, I will also be I will also again be playing tonight. So if you have a chance to drop in, please do. All right, so Azra, thank you for dropping in. Thank you for always being here. I appreciate you you hanging in here. I'm downloading the game on my phone right now. So I'll start trying to play it once I'm done here. So and I'll try to I'm guessing you could probably select the server. Hopefully I can select global and not just USA, but we'll see. So Beavers, awesome to have you in chat again. Thank you for always dropping in and being supportive. And I appreciate your input, Beavers, if you're still here. You always give some great input on things. The Cold 2T, my friend, thank you so much for your support over the last several months. You are you came in and you have always been extremely interactive when it comes to things that you want to talk about. So thank you so much for being here as well. Let's see here. Anybody else? Okay, I already said Beavers. And I don't think anybody else really said anything. So if you are a lurker, thank you very much for being here. I don't like pressuring people into talking, to be a part of my stream. So if you're just here lurking, I do appreciate you being here. And again, I will definitely be bringing you more information as it comes out from each member. And hopefully we can get a decent list of what's going to happen with each member. If I'm able to compile a list of what's going to happen, I'll post it both on my Twitter or X account and also in my community tab for people to reference, as news comes out about this stuff. So, please stay tuned for that. And I will definitely get back to you on anything and everything that I find out. So, I don't see anyone else that said anything in the chat. If you have said something in the chat and I missed you, I apologize. Calvin, I know you had to leave earlier, but thank you so much for dropping in as well, my friend. You are always welcome here. And again, you don't have to say anything. If you're just here to hang out or see what I have to say, you're definitely welcome. Again, I don't have any ill will towards Prism Project, despite me having some issues with some of their talent. I don't wish any ill will. I'm not pointing fingers and laughing at them. I very much want to see these ladies continue to succeed, even after Sony shuts down Prism Project, and I'm actually very happy for them that they're able to keep their personalities and their VTuber models and their name brand, so they can continue to build upon those. Let's try to be supportive to everyone in Prism Project. If you are a fan of theirs, please remember to try to support as many of them as possible with this transition. Again, I'm going to be going through and peeking in on everyone, but I'm also going to try to be a support of each one of them as well. For at least those that I really did enjoy, now that Prism Project is being shut down, because I do want to. I've always said this. I've always said this in the past, and I'll say it again. Support the talent. You don't need to necessarily support the brand or the agency. Support the talent. And by supporting the talent, you are supporting whoever they belong to, and if they don't belong to anybody, you're 100% supporting that person, because at the end of the day, there is a person behind each and every one of these avatars, regardless of if they have malicious intent or otherwise. There is always a person behind. So by supporting that person, you are supporting, their name and whoever they may belong to. So, but please do try to support them if at all possible. The worst thing that a person can feel is a sense of abandonment after something like this happens, and we don't want that. We don't want anybody to feel that. So, all right, guys. I am going to call it right now for this stream. Again, I will be starting at 7 p.m. Central Time. For Guardians of the Galaxy. If you want to come and hang out, I will be more than happy to welcome you, and we can hopefully have some fun with the game and see how much I like it. If I like it, we'll keep going with it. If we don't, I will just stream something else. But I do also have a couple games that are supposedly 5 to 7 hours in length. So I will be also trying those games coming soon. So please watch for the wait rooms on those as well. Okay. So, all right, guys, have a good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever the case may be for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are are great as always, and I thank you very much for your support. So, until then, guys, we'll see you later on today. All right? So, all right. This is Marko Yamashita signing off, guys. Thank you for coming in. Peace.
I like to get paid.